You can bury a diamond in dirt, but it'll still cut through steel when it rises. They thought they were silencing you. They thought they were burying you for good. But they weren't burying you, they were planting you, and now they're terrified of what's growing. What they attacked wasn't just you. They were swinging at something much bigger, something they couldn't see or control. They picked a fight with the current of the universe itself. That never ends well. They tried to poison your name, mock your silence, twist your story, but what they really did was trigger a shift they couldn't stop. See, when someone is chosen, they don't need revenge. The universe already begins the process. Every lie spoken about you was like spitting at the wind. Now it's all coming back, harder, louder, and faster than they expected. And you're still standing. That's going to haunt them more than anything. Before we dive deeper into this message, do one small thing with a big impact. Like this video and subscribe. Not just for yourself, but for the countless chosen ones still out there, walking through storms, carrying silent pain, feeling like they're forgotten. Your click is not just a click, it's a signal. It tells YouTube that this message matters. It tells the algorithm the chosen are waking up, and it's time the world hears them. Let's talk about what it really means to be chosen. Being chosen isn't about pride, it's about pressure. It's about walking through things that would have broken others, and coming out not just alive, but transformed. While they were busy counting your scars, they forgot to count your growth. They thought the fire would destroy you, but it became your forge. They thought silence meant weakness, but silence was your weapon. While they were laughing, you were leveling up. Chosen ones aren't just survivors, they're signals. You are living proof that energy doesn't lie, that darkness can't smother true light. And the thing about true light, it exposes everything fake around it. That's why they're nervous now. That's why they're whispering about you again. Because what they tried to bury is rising with power, and it's got a memory. The power of being chosen haunts your enemies in ways they'll never admit. It's not just your presence that bothers them, it's what your survival says about theirs. You walking into a room undestroyed after what you went through is a mirror they can't look into. Your light reminds them of what they'll never be able to fake. You didn't just survive, you shattered their expectations, and now they can't unsee your rise. They wanted you to question your light. They wanted you to believe you were alone, but the universe never left your side. It was rerouting everything in silence, preparing to make an example out of you, not for your sake, but so others would know what real strength looks like. You became the evidence, the case study, the warning. So here you are, sharper, clearer, heavier with truth, and they don't know how to handle it. You're about to shock a lot of people with what you survived, not just because you made it, but because of how powerful you became in the process. And when they see you now, they won't just see you. They'll see everything they underestimated, everything they mocked, coming back with a force they can't deny. They thought you were finished. The universe was just getting started. So if you felt every word in your bones so far, it's not by accident. The universe doesn't tap sleepers. It calls the awake. And if you're still here, you're not just watching, you're remembering. Drop the number 77 in the comments if you know your survival wasn't just survival. It was a message being written in real time, one the world is about to read loud and clear. And now, let's go deeper, layer by layer. Because if you're truly one of the chosen, you won't be able to look away. You'll feel it pulling you. Let's get into it. Number 1. When the universe plays favorites, the game is rigged. They didn't just bet against you, they bet against the current that shapes stars, and now they're drowning in their own odds. They thought they could touch you and walk away clean, like throwing dirt on fire and expecting it not to burn. But chosen ones don't just walk through the storm, we become it. What they didn't realize is that when the universe chooses someone, it doesn't just lift them, it rearranges everything around them. People, places, energies, outcomes. It starts breaking rules for them, shifting tides, bending timing. So when they moved against you, they weren't just picking a fight with a person, they were tampering with a system wired to correct itself. And now, correction is here. This wasn't just a season of pain, it was a recalibration. What looked like setbacks were setups. Every delay, precision, every betrayal, instruction, every night you cried in silence, echoed straight into the blueprint of a new beginning, custom built for your rise. They never had a chance because they were never your opponent. The real fight was between their illusions and your truth. And now truth is swinging back. They laughed when you were quiet, mocked you when you were still, confused your solitude for surrender. But you weren't hiding, you were being realigned, and what's about to come to light will make their blood go cold. Not because you're out for revenge, but because your existence is revenge. You were the hidden variable they didn't see coming, and now everything they built on false ground is cracking. The power of being chosen isn't loud, it's surgical, it's cosmic, and it doesn't need your enemy's permission to work. You ever wonder why things didn't make sense while you were going through it? Why it felt like the universe had gone quiet, like it left you out in the dark? It didn't. It was working behind the scenes, preparing a scene so divine, so undeniable, that even your enemies will be forced to sit front row and watch you rise. That's what alignment looks like. Let this settle in your bones. You are not ordinary. You were never meant to play by their rules, and they felt that, even when you didn't. That's why they tried to destroy you early, before you fully realized who you were. They saw the glow before you did. They saw the pattern forming and tried to cut the thread. But the universe doesn't waste power, and it sure as hell doesn't lose its chosen ones. It hides them until the stage is ready. You weren't abandoned, you were preserved. So yes, what's happening now is a cosmic rebalance, but don't get it twisted. This isn't some gentle course correction. This is a reckoning, a full circle moment where everything done in the dark is yanked into daylight. The people who wore your name in their mouths like poison are about to choke on it. Not because you're vindictive, but because truth has weight, and it's landing hard. To the chosen ones who've doubted themselves, let this burn. Stop questioning what's already been proven by your survival. You made it through mental warfare, spiritual sabotage, emotional droughts so deep they should have hollowed you out. And yet, here you are. You think that's luck? No, that's precision, that's protection, that's the system kicking in to save what it refused to lose. Stop shrinking your power just to keep others comfortable. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to shock them, to disrupt the lie they told themselves about people like you. They thought you were finished, they thought you'd fade. But the thing about being chosen, you don't fade, you flash, you strike. You shift the atmosphere without even trying. You want to know why they can't sleep? It's because they know you're still rising, still walking, still breathing, and every breath you take is another reminder that they couldn't bury what the universe crowned. So don't hold back. Don't water it down. Your rise is not a coincidence. It's the fallout of everything they tried to get away with. You didn't just survive, you disrupted the whole program. And now the shockwaves are just beginning. This isn't a comeback. This is universal vengeance wearing your face. Number 2, silence isn't weakness. It's ammunition in disguise. You mistook my quiet for surrender, but the loudest explosions always begin in the silence no one hears. They thought your silence meant you were broken. that your stillness meant defeat. But silence was never your downfall, it was your sharpening. While they were making noise, building lies and collecting shallow applause, you were in the shadows with the universe, leveling up in ways they still can't comprehend. You weren't losing, you were loading, because that's the thing they'll never understand about chosen ones. We don't rise through noise, we rise through pressure, through absence, through moments so dark and quiet, even our own thoughts started sounding like echoes. You know what that is? That's where legends are built. That's where unbreakable is born. Your silence made them nervous. That's why they kept poking, trying to get a reaction, trying to draw you out, not because they cared, but because they feared what you might become if left alone long enough. And they were right to be afraid, because silence is where the real weapons get made. Not the kind that scream, but the kind that strike when it matters most. Every second you stayed silent while they lied, schemed, twisted your story, was a second you were gaining power. And now they're trembling, not because you're shouting, but because you don't have to. Your presence alone is a mirror they can't escape. Every step you take in your truth reflects every false move they made against you. They underestimated you because you didn't explain yourself, because you let them talk while you observed, because you didn't fight back the way they expected. But chosen ones aren't here to play by expected rules. You weren't just quiet, you were studying, letting their masks slip, watching them expose themselves while they thought they were winning. And now you move different. Now you carry truth like a blade, not to swing wild, but to strike precise. Your silence was the trap they walked into. Understand this, your story, the real one, is a weapon. Every lie they built was built on borrowed time, and now time's up. The universe doesn't forget what was done to its chosen. It just waits for the right moment to answer. That moment is now. You weren't abandoned. You were pulled aside, hidden, like a rare gem tucked away until the right light could hit it. The silence you cursed was protection. The isolation you hated was incubation. You were being reshaped for a rise so big it couldn't happen in front of small minds. You ever wonder why it felt so lonely? Why people ghosted? Why doors slammed in your face when you needed them open the most? It wasn't a punishment, it was a filter. The universe was stripping the room of every weak bond, fake friend, and toxic weight that couldn't survive your next level. That kind of silence isn't an accident, it's surgery, brutal, clean, and necessary. They called you crazy, too quiet, too distant, said you were off. Of course you were. You were off their frequency. While they were playing checkers, you were aligning with energy that doesn't even speak their language. That kind of disconnect terrifies people who need control. You not reacting was the most dangerous thing you ever did. But let's be real, there were moments when you questioned yourself, weren't there? When you thought maybe they were right, maybe you were too soft, too quiet, too different. Let this be the last time you entertain that lie. Because what you were calling weakness was the very thing keeping you alive. You weren't soft, you were restrained. You weren't quiet, you were strategic. You weren't lost, you were being rerouted. Chosen ones are never given easy roads. They're given heavy assignments. And yours came wrapped in silence, in isolation, in a slow burn that most people wouldn't survive. But you did. And now your existence is loud without a single word. That's power. They want you to explain, to soften, to make them feel better about what they did. But don't. Let your growth be the discomfort they sit with. Let your success speak in volumes your voice never needed to. When you walk into rooms now, don't shrink. Don't hold back your truth just because they can't handle it. That silence you carried was sacred. Now it's strategy. And now You don't owe them anything, not even an explanation. They don't get to rewrite what happened. They don't get to claim ignorance. Your rise is their consequence. Your peace is their exposure. Your silence was the setup. Because now they're facing themselves in a mirror they never wanted to look into. One that reflects every betrayal, every fake hug, every whispered lie. You're not just standing in your truth. You are the truth now. And truth doesn't whisper. It echoes, it shakes foundations, it shatters illusions, it burns through lies with a fire silence protected all along. So when they come back, acting confused, trying to talk it out, remember they heard your silence. They just didn't respect it. They saw your stillness. They just thought it was surrender. But you were never weak. You were becoming untouchable. Let this fuel you. You don't owe them your words. You don't owe them closure. Let your transformation be the only conversation they get. The fact that you're still here, still standing, still rising, that's the shock. That's the storm. That's the justice. You are the storm they thought they sent to destroy you. And now you're moving with purpose, not pain. With silence, not fear. With power, not noise. And every step you take forward is the universe reminding them. You never lose when you're chosen. You just rise. Quietly, then suddenly. And they'll never see it coming until it's too late. Number 3. The best revenge is becoming unrecognizable. You were the shadow they mocked. Now you're the storm blocking out their sun. They never saw you coming, not because you were hiding, but because they never believed someone like you could rise from the ruins they left you in. They assumed your silence meant surrender. They mistook your healing for weakness. But the truth, you weren't defeated. You were transforming, quietly, deeply. And now that you're stepping out of the shadows, they're looking at a version of you they can't decode. You're not the same. You're not even close. You're no longer the one they pitied, no longer the one they tried to label, break, or overlook. You're the survivor, yes, but more than that, you're the proof. The walking contradiction to every lie they told. The evidence that everything they tried to bury didn't just survive, it evolved. They thought they had your story written, weak, emotional, dependent, easy to control. But those pages are burning now. And when you show up, they're scrambling to rewrite the narrative, to make sense of how someone they cast as finished now walks in rooms carrying an energy so loud it shakes the furniture. You don't owe them understanding. Let them be confused. Let them choke on the shock of your return, because they never planned for this version of you, the one that doesn't flinch, the one that knows exactly who they are, the one that walks with truth like a sword, not to beg for space, but to cut through the fog they tried to leave you in. This isn't just about surviving the betrayal, the pain, the isolation. It's about becoming the one thing they feared most, untouchable. And here's the part they'll never say out loud. Deep down, they always knew you had something different in you. That's why they came for you so hard. That's why they tried to break you early. They didn't see your weakness. They saw your threat. You weren't predictable. You weren't manageable. You weren't small enough to fit inside the box they needed you in. So they hit you where it hurt most, through the people closest to you, through betrayal disguised as love, through rejection that came at your most vulnerable, through a silence so loud you questioned everything about yourself. And still, you rose, not because you were lucky, but because the universe was never going to let you stay down. It was preparing your entrance. And now you're walking into places where your name was once dragged. You're being talked about in rooms that once laughed at you. They don't know how to face you because everything they said about you is unraveling in real time. Their version of you can't survive the truth of who you've become. They never saw you coming because your kind of growth can't be measured. It can't be tracked on paper. It's spiritual. It's energetic. It's the kind of transformation that makes people uncomfortable, not because of what you say, but because of what you no longer need to explain. Let them talk, let them stare, let them fumble through their fake smiles and forced greetings, because you're not here for their validation anymore. You outgrew the room the moment they tried to make you beg to stay in it. And for the chosen ones, still in the shadows, still wondering if your silence has purpose, if your pain is producing anything, let this be your sign. Your transformation is not just coming. It's already in motion. And when you step out, don't dim, don't explain, don't shrink to fit the version of you they're more comfortable with. Let them feel the weight of your survival. Let them taste the consequence of underestimating someone protected by alignment, because this isn't just about shocking them, it's about shifting the entire dynamic. They're not just stunned by your presence, they're haunted by what it says about their actions. You are the revelation now. You are the sentence at the end of their false story that rewrites everything they thought they knew. So if your spirit's still buzzing after hearing this, good. That's not hype. That's not just a good feeling. That's alignment. That's your soul nodding, finally being seen, finally stepping into the light it was never meant to hide from. And if they're watching now, confused, silent, shaken, let them sit in it, because the storm they thought they created, you became it. Number 4. When the universe echoes, it's calling you by name. They didn't just fail to break you, they accidentally built your legend. This isn't random, this isn't coincidence, and it sure as hell isn't background noise. If these words feel like they're reaching inside your chest and pulling something to the surface, it's because they are. This is personal, and this is cosmic. The universe doesn't echo without purpose. It doesn't keep bringing you messages like this without reason. It's not repeating itself, it's reminding you. You've been walking around thinking this was just your life, just your pain, just your survival. But what you went through, that was part of something far bigger, something beyond just you. And it's time you stop treating it like some unfortunate chapter. Because the truth is, you are a weapon forged in cosmic fire, and every scar you carry is a receipt that proves you made it out of the very hell they designed to finish you. Let that sink in. They didn't just try to hurt you, they tried to erase you, to shut your mouth, to kill the version of you that speaks truth, breathes fire, and walks like they know the universe bends in their favor. They weren't playing games. They were targeting your core, your identity, your light. And yet, here you are, still standing, still dangerous, still chosen. See, they thought you'd stay silent, that you'd stay broken, that the dark room they shoved you into would swallow you whole. But what they didn't know, what they couldn't possibly predict, is that chosen ones don't just survive darkness. We adapt to it. We learn its shape. We navigate it until it becomes part of our vision. That room they locked you in, you didn't just walk out. You brought a damn spotlight with you. And now you shine in a way they can't dim. Not because you're trying, but because the truth glows on its own. Every lie they told is now cracking under the heat of your survival. Every fake friend, every snake in disguise, every betrayal dressed up as concern, it's all melting under the light of what they couldn't kill. They thought this was just personal. They didn't realize it was cosmic. When someone is chosen, messing with them is not just an act of cruelty, it's an act of spiritual ignorance. They weren't just going against you, they were tampering with alignment, rewriting a script the universe had already stamped. They were playing in realms they don't understand, trying to hold down someone who was built to rise over and over and over again. They couldn't break you because they never had access to the part of you that mattered. They were busy attacking the surface, not realizing your strength was buried deep in places they couldn't touch. And now that it's rising, they don't know what to do. They're watching you take up space again, but this time it's different. This time you're not asking for permission. You're not just the comeback, you're the correction. You were never here to play nice. You were here to wake people up, to disturb the comfortable and comfort the disturbed, to speak the truth no one else was brave enough to say. And that's exactly why they tried to shut you down. Because truth is loud, even in silence, and your presence became too expensive for their lies to afford. So don't flinch now. Don't you dare shrink to fit the old version of you they're still hoping will come back. That version's gone. That version was necessary for the lesson. But this one is here for impact. The pain wasn't pointless. The silence wasn't wasted. The scars aren't shame. They're strategy. This is your proof. This is your fire. And now you get to use every ounce of it, not for revenge, not for validation, but to walk in full alignment with the purpose that survived everything thrown at it. And the universe, it's not just on your side. It's been orchestrating this. Every delay, every detour, every loss that gutted you but didn't end you. That wasn't chaos. That was calibration. You're not out of place. You're perfectly timed. You didn't miss your moment. You are the moment. And now that you see it, you move differently. Heavier, louder, clearer. Let this be the line they can't cross. Let this be the chapter they can't skip. Let this be the moment the world realizes you were never the victim. You were the warning. They didn't just fail to break you, they set the stage for you. They built their own destruction by underestimating yours. This is personal, and this is cosmic, and you are the storm disguised as survival. Number 5, they aimed at you, not knowing you were the bullet. They thought they wrote you out of the story, but forgot one thing. Protagonists don't die in the middle of the plot. They rewrite the ending. Let's not sugarcoat it. You were the target. Flat out. You were marked early. Not because you were weak, but because you were the only one in the room carrying a frequency that couldn't be faked. They saw your light and mistook it for vulnerability. They saw your heart and thought it meant easy access. What they didn't know, what they still don't fully grasp, is that they weren't just targeting a person. They were aiming at a weapon the universe had handcrafted. While they were playing petty games and chasing clout, you were carrying power that reached beyond them. You weren't just in their way, you were the threat. Because the real ones don't need to talk much. They just show up and shift the whole atmosphere without lifting a finger. That's what you did, and it rattled them. So they did what cowards do. They lied, they twisted, they tried to erase you in whispers. They dressed up envy in fake concern. They played victim while painting you as the villain. The goal? To break you before you realized who you really were. But here's what they missed. Chosen ones don't need a crowd to validate them. They're validated by endurance, by silence, by the fact that they can take blow after blow, betrayal after betrayal, and still move like royalty through rubble. While they performed, you endured. Quietly, powerfully. You were surviving with truth in your mouth and pain in your back. But you never folded. That strength they'll never understand. They made you the target, but the universe made you the weapon. What they felt around you, the uneasiness, the sudden aggression, the need to undermine you when you hadn't even spoken, that wasn't personal jealousy. That was spiritual recoil. You walked in with an energy that exposed everything fake in them just by existing. You didn't have to call them out. Your presence did it for you, and that's why they hated you. Let's make something clear. You didn't survive regular attacks. You endured engineered sabotage, psychological warfare designed to look invisible, fake friendships planted just to drain you, smiles with poison underneath, setups with no evidence. It wasn't random, it was strategy, but you were built for it. They tried to script you as background noise in a story you were born to lead, but every time they tried to delete you, you multiplied. That's what happens when the universe protects its own. They couldn't see the shield around you, but they felt it every time they tried to touch you and failed. Every silent plot they launched crumbled in their hands. Every narrative they spun eventually snapped and wrapped around their own necks. That's not karma, that's cosmic immunity. You want to know why it never made sense to you, why you were being attacked for things you didn't do, why people suddenly hated you for reasons they couldn't explain. It's because your energy, your truth, exposed everything fragile about theirs. You were the trigger without trying to be. Your peace poked at their chaos. Your silence screamed at their guilt. Your existence? A walking contradiction to every lie they told to feel superior. And yet you still questioned yourself. You thought maybe you were too sensitive, maybe you were too much. Let's put that lie in the grave right now. You weren't too much, you were too real. And real is rare. Real is dangerous. Real walks into rooms and causes fake to scatter like roaches when the light comes on. That was you. That is you. You are not the side character. You are the entire turning point. They didn't just fail to take you out, they helped activate you. Their attacks didn't break you, they exposed them. And now you move different. Now you know. Now you walk not just as a survivor, but as a force. The same people who tried to erase you are now choking on your name, not because you're loud, but because your truth echoes. You are the headline now, the living proof that the weapon formed did not prosper. You were forged in silence, tested in fire, and now you're walking with a kind of clarity that can't be touched. Let them scramble. Let them spin stories. The plot flipped, and now they're just extras in a story they can't control. They made you the target, but the universe, it made you the consequence. Number 6. You're not just rising, you're the sound of justice coming. They didn't hear you coming because you were rising in silence, but now your silence has turned into thunder, and there's no shelter from what's next. Let them hear it. Let every step you take now rattle the ground they tried to bury you in. This isn't just a rise, it's the thunder that follows divine silence. You've been quiet long enough. You took the hits, carried the weight, swallowed the betrayal. But the universe was never ignoring you. It was gathering momentum, building pressure, waiting for the perfect moment to let the storm loose. And now that storm is you. They thought they were just messing with you, throwing shade, whispering lies, playing you small. What they didn't realize is that every time they came against you, they were actually swinging at something much bigger. They weren't just fighting a person, they were wrestling with alignment. They picked a fight with the very current that shapes timelines, redirects destinies, and protects what it chooses. That was never going to end well for them. And now the universe is pulling receipts, and it's using you as the message. You are the walking invoice for every lie they told, every room they tried to keep you out of, every version of you they fabricated to justify their own insecurity. You are the consequence cloaked in clarity, the answer to a question they were too arrogant to ask. What happens when the one we tried to destroy doesn't just survive, but becomes unstoppable? They're about to find out. Your truth is not just personal, it's cosmic ammunition. You're not telling your story to vent. You're speaking it into the atmosphere to crack every illusion they built. Your voice now carries weight. It vibrates through timelines. Every word is shaking chains loose, not just off your back, but off anyone else who was watching in silence, thinking they were next. This isn't just healing. This is warfare, and truth is the weapon. The universe doesn't just choose at random. It doesn't place this much power in someone's hands without a reason. Your life is part of a rebalancing act, one where everything they twisted is being straightened, and every fake victory they celebrated is now being reversed in slow motion. That's not coincidence. That's alignment in motion. That's karma meeting purpose. And it's showing up with your name on it. You are not a survivor. You are a shift. The reason they're uncomfortable now, the reason their energy twitches when you speak, post, walk, breathe, it's not guilt. It's recognition. They see the force now. They feel it in your tone, in your steps, in your stillness. You've stopped needing to explain, and that's what terrifies them. Because silence was survival, but now your words are thunder. They're not ready for what happens when the story they buried explodes into something undeniable. And let's be honest, there's no outrunning thunder. You hear it even when you look away. It rolls through your chest. It makes you pause. It forces you to acknowledge something is coming. That's what your rise feels like now. Unstoppable, unapologetic, unignorable. This is no longer about being seen. This is about being heard. This is balance being restored right in front of their eyes. And the wildest part, you don't even have to do much. You just are. You carry proof. Your existence is the echo of every injustice being corrected. The universe is correcting the record, and it's using your breath to speak the truth that was silenced for far too long. So let the thunder roll. Let your rise shake the very ground they thought would never hold you. You're not here for applause. You're not here to be liked. You're here to wake the system up. And whether they're ready or not, that wake-up call is on its way. They won't be able to say they didn't hear it coming, because you are the thunder. Number 7. They thought you were alone. You were just under construction. They mistook your quiet for defeat, not realizing the universe doesn't build skyscrapers in crowded rooms. Let's make one thing painfully clear. That isolation you went through, that wasn't abandonment, that wasn't punishment, that wasn't failure, that was sacred ground. You weren't being left behind. You were being set apart. You were being cleared of distractions, dead weight, fake alliances, and energy that couldn't survive your next level. The silence wasn't empty. It was full of divine calculation. While they were laughing at your stillness, mocking your retreat, living loud in borrowed masks, you were becoming unbreakable. The universe doesn't build weapons in public. It does it behind closed doors, in stillness, in places no one else would dare go. And that's where you were, deep in the shadows, in the fire, in the places that strip everything fake off your soul and leave only the real behind. That wasn't a breakdown. That was a blueprint. People left, friends ghosted, opportunities vanished. You were cut off, ignored, lied on, looked over, and every time you thought something was wrong with you, you asked, why me? You begged for noise, for company, for connection. But silence was the greatest blessing you never asked for. Because in that silence, the universe was building something no crowd could clap for yet, something no enemy could decode, something only the aligned would recognize when it stepped out. You. And now that you're stepping into who you were always becoming, people are acting brand new, confused, alarmed, intimidated. Why? Because your silence matured into presence. Your loneliness evolved into gravity. You walk into rooms now and shift the atmosphere without saying a word, because power like yours doesn't scream, it resonates. You were never overlooked. You were hidden. You were silenced, so your voice would carry when it finally spoke. So your words would be laced with lived truth, not borrowed theory. So that when you opened your mouth again, people would feel it, not just hear it. And that's happening now. That's why your name is showing up in rooms you haven't entered yet. That's why people who once ignored you are suddenly uncomfortable just knowing you're still rising. They tried to discredit you, not because you were wrong, but because your alignment exposed them. That resistance you felt. The urge others had to downplay your worth, gaslight your reality, keep you small. That was never about you being too much. That was about you being too aligned, too untouchable, too activated. You became a threat just by breathing truth in a room built on lies. You didn't need to swing. You were the weapon, and you still are. Chosen ones aren't made in crowds. They're crafted in quiet, in grief, in delay, in rejection that turns into redirection. The world sees your glow now and thinks it's new. But that light, it was born in the dark, built in the depths, forged in a place no one clapped for, and that's what makes it real. Stop questioning your worth. Stop dimming your light to keep the fragile from cracking. You've already sacrificed too much to make others comfortable. You've already carried guilt for being chosen, as if you asked for it. As if you forced the universe to place this calling on your life. No, you were selected because you could handle it, because you wouldn't fold, because you were willing to endure the silence most people would lose themselves in. You made it through a season that was designed to hollow you out, and instead it hardened your spirit. That's not coincidence, that's construction. So when they stare now, silent, bitter, confused, let them. Let them wonder how you didn't fall apart. Let them question how someone they counted out is now standing stronger than ever, because they don't get it. They weren't there when the universe was clearing the room. They didn't feel the walls closing in while your soul was expanding. They didn't hear the universe whisper, "Just wait. They're not ready yet." But now they're seeing the result, the final product, the structure that was being built in sacred quiet. You. And let this be the last time you apologize for that process. You are not too loud. You are not too much. You are not a mistake. You are proof that isolation is not the end. It's the beginning of impact. So don't shrink, don't soften, don't look back. You were never alone. You were just under construction. Number 8, your survival wasn't just a victory, it was a manual for the silent. You didn't just survive, you translated pain into a language others could finally understand. This was never just about you, never just about your struggle, your silence, your scars. What you went through was brutal, yes. It was personal, it was intimate, but make no mistake, it was also strategic. Because the blueprint needed to be written, the path had to be carved. Someone had to walk through hell without a map, so others could one day follow the heat back to their own healing. That someone was you. You weren't just being broken down, you were being documented. Your life became a living, breathing manual, written in blood, setbacks, betrayal, and resilience. You were never just surviving for your own sake. You were carrying something eternal, a legacy disguised as a life, a truth so potent it couldn't stay buried. Because here's the truth, most won't say out loud. Some people don't make it. Some never find the words. They drown in silence. They choke on stories they were never allowed to tell. But you made it out. And that survival, it comes with a responsibility. You are the voice someone is waiting to hear, the confirmation someone's spirit has been begging for. When you speak, you're not just expressing yourself, you're setting off alarm bells in the hearts of people who thought they were crazy for feeling what they felt. You're not just telling a story, you're translating freedom. You want to know what real impact is. It's not in applause, it's not in numbers, it's not in status, it's in recognition. When a stranger hears your truth and suddenly feels seen for the first time in their life, that's the spark, that's legacy, that's alignment in action. Your story becomes permission. And here's the part that humbles the soul. You didn't even choose this. You were chosen for it. You were built in invisible rooms, shaped in silence, stretched through storms no one could see. And all of it was constructing a foundation that others could one day stand on. That's what being chosen really means. It's not glory. It's not fame, it's pain repurposed for purpose. It's walking through things that weren't fair, weren't right, and weren't deserved, yet still finding a way to make them mean something. Because what you've endured, it's become a roadmap for people who haven't even realized they're lost yet. Every time you speak your truth, you drop a pin on the map, a marker in the soil of the future, a signal to others. This way, keep going. You're not crazy, you're not broken, you're not alone. Your survival was the proof. Your voice is the invitation. This world is addicted to forgetting. It moves fast. It skips pages. It silences what's uncomfortable. But you've become a keeper of the real. Your words won't fade. Your story won't dissolve. Because you're not just telling it for attention, you're telling it to build something that lasts. That's legacy. That's how the universe works through the chosen. It plants them in storms, breaks them in silence, strengthens them in darkness, and then releases them into the world not just to shine, but to guide. Your life became light, not the kind that just looks good, but the kind that leads. You are not a brand. You are not an influencer. You are not some polished product of survival. You are a blueprint, a detailed, messy, powerful, undeniable map written in real time through real struggle. And now that you're walking in your truth, you are proof that the most painful parts of life can birth something immortal. So stop holding back. Stop trying to package your story into something soft and marketable. Let it roar, let it pierce, let it offend the fake and wake the silent. The ones who need you won't flinch. They'll weep, they'll breathe again. They'll remember who they are, because something in you reminds them of something in them. This is what you were built for. Not just to heal, not just to rise, but to show others how it's done. To walk so boldly in your story that it becomes a map for every lost soul who didn't know there was a way out. You didn't survive for applause. You didn't speak for revenge. You rose for legacy. And now you are no longer just one. You are many. You are the blueprint. Number 9. This is the moment. Speak like the cage is already broken. Your silence protected them. Your voice will liberate you. Let it all out. Every truth you swallowed, every scream you turned into a smile, every moment you played small just to keep fragile people comfortable, let it burn. This is your moment. Speak now, not for attention, not for closure, but for freedom. Because silence isn't peace when it's bought with your dignity. Let them squirm, let them stutter, let them choke on the version of you they never saw coming. You don't owe anyone softness after they tried to break you. You don't owe anyone silence when your voice could set fire to every lie ever told about you. Your story isn't just a revelation, it's a reckoning. You weren't built to be liked. You were built to outlast. They hoped you'd stay small. They prayed you'd stay broken. But you didn't. You stood up. You walked out of the fire and brought the flames with you. Now your survival stings, because it reminds them that you were never theirs to destroy. Speak, chosen one. Speak loud. Speak raw. Speak act like the chains are still cracking because someone out there needs to hear the sound of a soul breaking free. This isn't just survival. This is your arrival. You didn't just weather the storm. You became it. And now we've come full circle. If your soul is still buzzing, that's no accident. That's alignment. That's confirmation. You didn't just survive. You became the evidence, the storm, the voice. So own it, walk in it, speak it. Because the world is watching and the truth can't stay quiet any longer. If this message hit you deep, like this video, subscribe and drop the number 77 in the comments to claim your place among the chosen. Share this with someone who's still walking through their fire, so they know they're not alone. The rise has begun, and we're just getting started.